Hello, I'm Trisha McDonough Ryan with the Empower VeLa Ukraine program, and here to provide you with session number 5 in our brain health series with ideas that could help you use in your classroom and in the settings that you work in to promote healthy brain development, particularly in children who've experienced trauma, inconsistencies, and disruptions in development. You'll recall we're talking about the High Five program. And the elements of this program for brain health include number 1, creating healthy attachment trust. Number 2, using movement to get a sense of body and self and to activate the brain systems. Number 3, breathing and regulation of the central nervous system. Number 4, expanding the emotional repertoire of the child, because this repertoire or this spectrum of emotions becomes very restricted. And number 5, engaging in and promoting pro-social behaviors. Our learning objectives today includes doing a deeper high 5 dive into breathing and really looking at breathing as a key element for calming the central nervous system. Because what breathing helps you do is it activates and invites the frontal system to regulate the rest of the brain. So you'll recall in our last session, we talked about looking at your hand, putting your thumb in, which is the limbic system, and your emotional system. The hand fingers come over. This is the lid. This is the regulator. That's that frontal system. We're going to talk about the neuroscience of games and why we suggest you use gaming in order to engage kids in activities, particularly kids who've been in trauma situations or are living in the context of war or other high conflict. And how the neuroscience of games shows us that helps children become more engaged in activities and engage that frontal system in order to be able to learn. And then the other learning objective is, how can you use these ideas? How can you have kids practice breathing at home and teach their family and friends? So number 1, why does breathing help? So we know that deep breathing with a slow and steady inhale, so you're breathing in, and exhale ratio, where it's 1 breath in and it's a longer breath out. So if you were to take a deep breath in for 3, 1, 2, 3, as you're breathing in, when you exhale, you want it to be slower. And the reason this is when you go slower, it signals your parasympathetic nervous system to calm down what's called the sympathetic system. And that sympathetic system is your fight, flee, free system. So by exhaling slower, you're calming down the reaction of that nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system that wants to fight, flee, or freeze. Ensure that when you breathe in, your abdomen does not just fill with air up. Be sure when you breathe in, you're using your abdomen, not your chest, to fill with air. So you're using your belly to take that breath in and expand it. You're pushing it out with air. When you're taking the air in, it's going into the belly and it's expanding. And when you breathe out, you're contracting your belly back in and it becomes empty. Almost like, think of it as a balloon goes in to fill, and then you let the balloon out and the air comes out. If your system is under stress or anxiety, you may observe that when you inhale, you actually use your chest, and your body and your abdomen moves inward and your chest moves outward. You want actually the reverse of this. You want your abdomen to fill and to release. And one way you can tell if you're doing it right is to put one hand over your chest and one hand over your belly. And the hand that's over your chest shouldn't be moving. It's the hand that's over your belly that's moving. And as you take that breath in, remember you're taking in for inhaling, right? So you're filling up, okay? And you're doing it for the count of 3. And as you exhale, you're pushing it out for the count of 5. Research shows that if we use games for learning prior to engaging kids in an activity we want them to learn, they will become more invested in it. It will activate their frontal lobe system. It will increase their ability to encode the information and increase their willingness to use the behavior or the activity that you're trying to get them to use. So gaming in the learning environment, in whatever environment you're working with children in a trauma and context, gaming is an excellent tool to use to teach or to get kids to engage in certain behaviors. And the reason that is when you game, you activate again that frontal system. So gaming activates the frontal system and the reward mechanisms, dopamine in the brain system. And as a result of that, it increases attention. It increases and helps the ability to feel if a child's feeling numb. It helps increase the frontal lobes to regulate emotions within that limbic area. And gaming encourages pro-social behaviors. So examples of games you could use that activate the frontal system includes a game we refer to as I Spy. And I Spy is something I'm going to show you in just a moment. Another game of 20 questions. So it's I'm thinking of a topic or a situation, and you can ask me 20 questions to try to learn more about what I'm thinking about. Or I have a picture in my hand and I'm going to hide the picture, and you can ask me 20 different questions to try to figure out what that picture is before I show it to you. So that activates the frontal lobe system. Another is charades, acting out a situation. And another is where you have a child is shown part of a solution, and then they need to complete the idea or solve the rest of the pattern. So one example that I'm going to go through with you before teaching you what's called butterfly breathing is a way to get a child or an individual excited about this activity is by playing a I Spy or a partial solution game with kids, and it builds their self-confidence and it makes them feel more invested. So what insect do you think this is? When you see this, if you say this to a child or show them a picture of a partial object, what's the rest of it? What makes up this object or this item that you see, or this animal that you see, or this insect? It's a butterfly. And so then you would show them, so you would start with partial. What is it? They guess it. And then you then engage them in another activity of mindfulness that activates their frontal system. For example, of watching this YouTube video. And while watching it, they have to find 10 colors. So they've got to write this down, or they've got to say it out loud, or you give them pieces of different color, a color span in front of them. And when they see the color, they have to touch it, and they've got to touch all 10 as over the time that they're watching the video. And I'm going to have you watch this at another time. So again, we're going back. We start with a priming. We're priming the brain by giving a partial amount of information, full information, to then a way to use the information you have and apply it to something else. And now we have someone's attention and they're interested. And then we would teach how to do butterfly breathing. And so we're going to teach the child to spread their wings, their arms as their wings, to take in one breath, and then flap their wings down to push out the breath. So again, they're breathing in through their belly, and then they're pushing the air out of their belly by pushing it out. Remember your inhale and your exhale. Your exhale is longer than your inhale. This is a video that shows children that you can show them exactly how to do this breathing exercise.
Called the butterfly breath. Imagine you have beautiful wings like these. Raise your arms, or wings in this case, above your head as you breathe in, then lower them as you breathe out. Ready? Let's try it together.
Breathe in and raise your arms up above your head. Then breathe out and lower them down to your sides. Breathe in as you raise your arms up. Then breathe out as you put them down. Last one. Breathe in, arms up. And breathe out, arms down.
You'll probably need a bit of space to do this exercise, but it's definitely worth it.
As you do that with children, you can do breathing where they are sitting by themselves with their legs crossed, their arms up, with breathing with their upper arms as part of the butterfly, with their legs as part of the butterfly, moving their legs up and down. You can have them stand with each other, facing each other, or if you want to engage in some co-regulation of the nervous system, you have them sit with their backs to back, touching, and that way they're synchronizing their breath in and out. You could have children in a circle, synchronizing for co-regulation of their nervous system, helping each other regulate themselves through observation of another child or through you of setting the pace. The next video is something you can show older children that demonstrates how to do butterfly breathing. So finally, think about how you are going to use this idea in the context of your setting. Remember, going back to what we talked about in our previous videos of having stability and having sense of routine, that you're going to want to do this regularly throughout the day to create a sense of expectation, calmness, understanding of what's going to happen next. It's a great exercise to do as a cue when you don't have to use words, but you want to let a child know we're going to transition from one activity to another, of getting children to look at you, eyes, look at your eyes, look at your arms, and follow your lead with getting them to do a breathing and letting them know that's what we do between transitions from one activity to the next, or between one environment if we have to shift to a different environment. Modeling breathing yourself when you're noticing you're getting yourself activated, to be able to say to children you're working with, I'm going to take a few deep breaths myself. Please join me in taking some deep breaths myself. And encouraging children, as we talked about, that the more what you are showing children to do, it is practice in the ecosystem around them. Remember the Bronfenbrenner ecosystem of who's around the child. The more you can get them to teach people around them to use this same activity, the more it helps them. The more you can get them to teach others, it also is in a way for them to be more invested in the activity and feel ownership and confidence with it. Please tell us if this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Peace be with you, peace be with your community and with your family.